I said, Baddies East? She pregnant. How you gonna do Baddies East? She said, oh, I think they'll be shooting like after I had the baby already. I said, who gonna watch the baby? Me? Bitch, she said you.
Please.
Son.
Please.
Son.
What?
Have I ever watched you for more than 24 hours?
No.
Yes.
I probably have. I'm gonna get that. I like that. This shit. It's so dumb. She said, the baby's not gonna stop me from going on the road and getting money and hustling and doing what I need to do. I said, who gonna watch the baby while you on the road hustling? She said, I'm gonna have an on the road nanny. If you think you finna take my newborn baby from the day she's born to the day she's at least 3 years old on the road anywhere, on a plane, on a tour bus for longer than 48 hours, you're smoking dick.
The internet doesn't forget. Screenshots don't disappear. And trauma, especially public trauma, doesn't just evaporate because two people decide love feels better than accountability. This is the most toxic, the most complicated, the most consistently chaotic relationship in modern reality hip-hop. And every time the world thinks it's finally over, every time social media believes this chapter is fully closed, suddenly the universe throws gasoline back on the flame and the circus is back, baby. Blueface gets released from jail. And without hesitation, without pause, without protective recalibration, Chrisean Rock is right back by his side. Fans are fuming. Fans are screaming. Fans are begging her to wake up. Not because they hate her, not because they want her to be miserable, but because they see it and they believe deeply she is choosing that man again, that man being Blueface, over her own baby, Chrisean Jr. This story is messy. It's complicated. It's emotionally violent without needing to be explicit, okay? It's the new generation cautionary tale of trauma bonding, fame addiction, and manipulation so normalized. People actually began to think that it was just part of their brand. And now that Blueface is out again, people are terrified. They already know how this next season ends because historically, we've seen this movie and it never ends soft. When they first collided, it wasn't soft romantic fate. It wasn't gentle soulmate alignment. It was two wounded egos, two volatile identities, two people who had already survived chaos, suddenly weaponizing each other's wounds as entertainment currency. Every live stream fight, every tweet meltdown, every club altercation, every on-camera shove, scream, and meltdown became monetized content. The problem with constant attention, y'all, is the brain stops distinguishing between love and content, between pain and views, between internet uproar and I matter. This is the part that nobody likes to admit. Toxic love is addictive because it feels, validating, just not in a healthy way. Their dynamic fed both of them attention, and attention felt like oxygen. The narrative should have pivoted by now. Everything should have changed. This should have been the moment to break the cycle and start all over and reinvent. But instead, the pregnancy became part of the trauma arc itself. And now fans are screaming across TikTok, across X, across comments under every blog page that she keeps choosing Blueface over her own baby. That she chooses chaos more than stability, that she's repeating cycles she should have protected her son from. And y'all, it's hard to watch. It is really hard to watch. And whether those comments are fair or not isn't the point right now. The point is that baby is already involved in a war he never asked for. Motherhood usually resets the axis. Motherhood usually forces self-regulation. Motherhood usually cuts tether from emotional harm. But when your internal programming equates pain with love, leaving just doesn't feel like self-protection. It feels like abandonment. It feels like losing the only person who made you feel something intense. And for Chrisean, that's Blueface. So Chrisean runs back because in trauma bonding, the abuse doesn't feel like a reason to run. It feels like a sign the connection is real. I know, y'all. I know it sounds crazy and insane, but to her, the chaos feels familiar. And familiar feels safe, even when it destroys her. And this is why fans are losing their minds now that he's home. The fandom isn't angry at her randomly. They're just terrified. They want better for the baby because that baby is the only innocent character in this entire circus. And people genuinely feel like they are witnessing trauma generationally forming in real time and nobody's stopping it. They feel like the patterns are repeating themselves. This isn't just messy celebrity gossip anymore, y'all. This is a psychological, slow motion train wreck. And now that Blueface is free again, the stakes just escalated to a level red right overnight, y'all. Because fans don't trust round 2 to be any softer than round 1. Fans believe this is headed towards a catastrophic replay. One person close to this has already lost his life, the other potential baby daddy, but we won't talk about that right now. The most disturbing part is Chrisean doesn't seem afraid of what he's already done. She's afraid of what it means to walk away. She's afraid of being alone. She's afraid to lose Blueface. And that's much harder to treat than bruises. Because abandonment wounds don't heal with logic. They heal with emotional replacement. And she hasn't found that yet. So now Twitter is already bracing for impact. This relationship isn't trending again because it's romantic, y'all. Let's remember that. It's trending again because people believe they are about to witness the next chapter of a trauma loop, but now with an innocent baby caught in the fallout. And the real horror question now becomes, is this baby the next character added to the drama? Or the only possible exit out of it? The moments where the internet realized this wasn't entertainment anymore, this was a crisis, a circus. The most disturbing shift in this entire saga wasn't the violence. It wasn't the screaming matches. It wasn't even the viral clips of them fighting in hallways, driveways, backstage green rooms, or messy Instagram lives at 2:47 a.m. The darkest pivot happened when the internet started becoming the referee, okay? Viewers stopped being bystanders. They started becoming emotionally invested. That's when this story stopped being entertainment and started becoming a psychological experiment in real time. This wasn't two private adults having a dysfunctional meltdown behind closed doors. This was a relationship unraveling in front of millions in real time. Shot by shot, episode by episode, public meltdown by public meltdown. And here's the horror part. Once the internet becomes invested in your trauma story, your trauma becomes content. When fans realized this wasn't hip-hop craziness, this was a trauma loop. TikTok creators began stitching her videos. Podcasters began doing full breakdowns of every micro gesture. Therapists online began doing body language dissection threads. People weren't reacting anymore. They were studying this shit. And the more they studied, the more they concluded. This wasn't love. This isn't passion. This wasn't just two messy celebrity kids acting wild. This was and is a trauma pattern so deep, so psychologically fused, it has become mutually destructive fuel. Chrisean wasn't addicted to Blueface, the person. She's addicted to the feeling she believed that he validated inside of her, even when that feeling was pain. Blueface wasn't addicted to her love either. He was addicted to the control he could flex in front of an audience. Their dynamic thrived in chaos because chaos kept both of them emotionally hooked. And then the baby entered the storyline. Damn, that changed everything. Fans feared she sees the baby as an accessory and a possible attachment to Blueface, not a priority. And this is the part that people don't want to say out loud, but everyone is thinking because she healed publicly with conflict. She now subconsciously validates conflict as connection. So motherhood didn't become the emotional pivot. It became a set decor in the main drama. That is why the internet is like on panic mode now, because babies aren't plot twists, or they shouldn't be. They are real human beings who absorb emotional atmosphere like a sponge, even before they can talk. So when fans say she's choosing Blueface over her baby, they're not accusing her of being evil. They are terrified she hasn't rewired her trauma yet. And trauma cycles don't magically break when you give birth. Sometimes motherhood amplifies the emotional chaos if the mother hasn't healed, which looks like Chrisean has not healed yet. And fans believe this baby is about to inherit trauma before he even develops a conscious memory of the world. That's the fear. That's why it's no longer gossip. When Blueface went to jail, fans thought this was the break that they both needed because sometimes a forced separation is the only detox a human bonded person ever gets, right? People thought this was her reset arc. This was her chance to pick peace. This was her chance to build stability. This was her chance to put the baby first. But the second he got released, y'all, it was like all that eternal progress came crashing down, and we witnessed it on that DDG live stream. It was a mess. This is what trauma-bonded attachment looks like. It doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like a gravitational pull. That's what makes this story so horrifying. It's like they picked up right where they left off. Like 2 years had not even happened, because we are watching a woman who wants love but only recognizes love through pain and humiliation. And this time, there's a baby in the middle of this tornado. Fans aren't mad that she loves him, loves Blueface. Fans are terrified the baby will now become a narrative prop inside this toxic loop instead of being the one thing that breaks it. Like, her focus should be on the baby. Because if this doesn't break it, people don't know what will, okay? We are now approaching the most dangerous question of this entire storyline. What happens now that Blueface is free and the spotlight turns back on? The internet is already placing bets. Will this be a nuclear emotional implosion again? Will this become content chaos 2.0? Will we see protective parenting or trauma repetition? Again, what we saw on the DDG live, y'all, it was a mess. So I don't see no protective parenting happening at all. Because the scariest part is not what they have already done. The scariest part is what could happen next. Now that Blueface is out, you can feel the world is holding its breath. Not because people want mess, not because people want another internet meltdown, but because this time, there's a tiny little human being whose future is indirectly tied to every adult decision made here, whether intentional or not. This isn't just celebrity chaos anymore. This is a developmental timeline being formed in real time. The baby is the only one who didn't choose this storyline, you guys. But he will be the one who feels all of the downstream effects of whatever happens next. And we already can see this baby has already suffered and has been impacted by the decision of these two folks, for lack of a better term. And that is why this next chapter feels darker than before. When chaos becomes part of your identity, peace feels threatening. Chrisean has lived inside a war zone dynamic for so long that volatility feels normal. To her nervous system, chaos is connection. Intensity equals proof of love. Pain is passion. If you've lived in trauma long enough, calm feels like, this is crazy. This is too peaceful. It feels like abandonment. So when Blueface came out of jail, the gravitational pull was instantaneous. She didn't need reasoning. She didn't need logic. She didn't need calculation, baby. Her emotional memory already knows the script. She ran straight back into the storm because the storm is what she knows best. The storm is familiar. But again, the internet is terrified. The storm is going to raise a child. Blueface also plays into this dynamic because he knows his role in her emotional pattern. There's a reason abusers always come back confident. There's a reason manipulators always believe they still have power. Mind you, Blueface doesn't necessarily stay with Chrisean because he loves her specifically. I do think he has some deep feelings for her, but she's the one person a lot of women would have been left his ass, okay? Especially after all the stuff with the child. But he knows that she is like the little pet who's gonna do whatever he says, jump on one foot and pat the head, bark like a dog. There's a reason toxic couples repeat cycles even when they both know how destructive it is, because every cycle strengthens the attachment. And when you have millions of eyes watching, the cycle becomes a performance, it becomes a spectacle, and they've already been rewarded with clout, attention, and money from previous rounds of this insanity. So of course both of them subconsciously believe the next cycle will also perform. But babies don't care about performances, okay? Babies need regulation. Babies need calm, stability, and safety. Babies don't need trauma loops disguised as romance, trauma bonds. The internet isn't asking for perfection. They're begging her to stop the generational curse where it begins. People aren't villainizing her. People are begging her to see beyond the man she thinks she is fighting to keep and see the little boy who needs protection more than she needs the emotional high from Blueface's toxic love. Girl, love yourself, because trauma is inherited, not biologically, emotionally. And if this cycle isn't broken here, the baby won't just witness chaos, he'll learn to normalize it as love too. And that is the true nightmare outcome of this entire storyline. This isn't just about Blueface. This isn't just about Chrisean Rock. This is a generational wound replaying itself with new characters and a bigger audience. The future of this story depends on who she chooses to prioritize. When a man gets released from jail, shit, he wants to return to his old life. When a mother gets a baby in her arms, she should want to build a new life. One that's better for her child, better than the life that she may have had. So the actual story here isn't, do they reunite? The real story is, will Chrisean break the trauma cycle or repeat it? It looked like she repeated it, you guys. That's what it's looking like so far. No matter what happens, all Blueface got to do is say bark baby, and that's what she gonna do. The baby is not a prop. The baby is not a storyline accessory. The baby should not be a trending hashtag. He is a human soul who is absorbing the emotional atmosphere of the adults he depends on. So if this next chapter becomes a sequel to Round 1 Chaos, that baby will be collateral damage. That's just a fact, y'all. And that is why the world is watching with panic instead of popcorn. This isn't about judging her, but yeah, no, you guys, people are judging her. And I ain't gonna lie about that. I do believe it is some judgment. This isn't about hating him. Yeah, we are kind of hating on him because get your motherfucking act together. Calling this woman who you're alleging is the mother of your child, referring to her as a bitch. That's not cool. Grow up. This is about truth. A child cannot survive in the crossfire of two adults still fighting their own internal demons. They need to get away from each other. This story is still being written in real time, you guys. I mean, as of today, they're already trending on Twitter, well, X rather, going back and forth. Jaden, Chrisean, Blueface. It's a mess, you guys. It's no longer just hip-hop history being documented. This is some real buffoonery. And the one person who's going to suffer is Junior. It's the future of the baby who deserves more than trauma dressed up as passion. But hey, you guys, if you like stories about the hidden lives of celebrities where fame, love, and chaos collide in the ways the public never fully understand, please subscribe to the channel and share this video. Thank you.